if we label something, this pen, this pencil,
Yeah,
it's no longer the same pencil that it was 5 seconds ago when I name it again now as this pencil. It's aged. It's been somehow changed. And so A doesn't equal A. But from the beginning, the really important question...
Okay, stray thought about that change. The best thing someone can do is go Google tunneling microscope and for images and look, and you can actually see. Now they can only do this with metallic surfaces and certain surfaces, but when they can do it, they can take pictures of the actual atoms. And it's like if you have a bunch, I have some magnets, little tiny marble sized magnets I've had before, and different sized ones upstairs. And that's what everything is. It's just these clumps of magnets. You know how you could ply them but they don't fall apart? That's all it is. Everything is different. The only reason there's different consistency is sometimes it's a string of magnets really strongly held here, and it's interwoven with other ones that aren't magnetically connected but are just fit together, and this sort of thing. So every time you touch an object, you've got to imagine these teeny tiny magnets, and of course you're scraping them around. Of course things weather constantly. Every plonk instant at least, things are changing. Okay, end of tangent. Sorry to interrupt. That was right in the middle of some. You're going somewhere else. You're not going to talk about magnets. That's my prediction. Little magnets.
Needs to be answered, metaphysically speaking, is not whether A equals A. It's what is the meaning of equals.
Well, right. Okay, good point. Yes, I was going to bring this up actually.
Like the question, what is being? What is existence? If you've understood the question, you've already answered it. Because it is, in between what and being, that is being already.
Okay, here's the thing. Now, as I've said many times before, I'm stop. Here, let me stop being more flattering. That's good enough. As I've said, I think being is an error. It's a very deep error. There is only becoming. There is only becoming. So insofar as equal is related to the verb is, A is A, it really should be A becomes A.
So we're in a position of not knowing what reality is because we've taken the question.
That is a useless question. What is reality? And we know that everything is processes. That means everything is moving. If everything's a process, what does that imply beyond it being a thing? There's no unchangingness to it. Every process needs time. So suddenly time is in our ontology. Have you ever noticed? Time is not in most logical ontologies, but it has to be. It has to be in any that is about reality. So when you see everything as a process, you brought in time. You have to give it time. So you have to make your definitions take that into account.
You're taking the question in the wrong way, I suppose. And so we need to not only rethink, but refeel the question of existence. We can no longer separate ourselves as a thinking subject apart from the object and say that the object is real and we are somehow surreal or epiphenomenal. We've got to have a monistic ontology if we're going to be serious about doing philosophy, because if you're not a monist, then there's no way for you to explain how one substance interacts with the other. You can't say how A remains A through time, because itself is formative.
Remains also a to-be-based idea. Remains. Nothing remains. It doesn't remain itself. It becomes a new version of itself.
So, I just lost my screen here. There it is. And it's not that we can ever make statements as philosophers or poets or thinkers that will remain true forever. So the forms, the eternal ideas, can't be spoken if what we mean by spoken is transferred into words, downloaded into some proposition or sentence or statement or declaration. Ideas.
When you say something like that, I assume you mean all forms of communication can't even be put in art. Really?
Are the source of articulable thoughts, spoken thoughts. But the ideas themselves, the forms themselves, remain beyond our ability to grasp. Our concepts, our thoughts about the world.
Aren't you grasping them? Aren't you telling me there's something you grasp? Because if you're just telling me that there's an eternal world beyond space and time, and there's all these eternal truths in there, but they have nothing to do with us because we can't grasp them, then I just don't get it. I don't get how that could possibly be what you're saying. So that isn't what you're saying, is it? What are you saying?
Are somehow the result of this transcendent, active force of thinking, of something that transcends the world and yet leaves no trace in that world. That's what the meaning of equals is. The meaning of is. There is only one kind of thing.
I thought we were talking about metaphysics that we're using, and it is left a trace in the world. A bad trace, I think. Certainly, trace. I mean, a bad trace, but also, it's useful. These things are useful fictions for mathematics and stuff, but in terms of reality.
There's only one universe that's happening right now. But in happening now, it happens forever, in every place, at every time. And in a particular place or time appears finite, appears multiple, appears diverse, even fractured. For you and I, the universe can appear a multiverse because we all have our own perspectives. And so it's difficult then for us to arrive at.
You think we only experience the multiverse because of perspectivism? It's interesting, but I disagree. I think it truly is multivariate. Oop! I do have to switch you back here. There you go.
A consensual agreement about the nature of reality, which is what metaphysics is striving to do. If it's not an intersubjective exercise, then it's not ever touching truth. Truth has to be shared.
I couldn't disagree more. It has to be shared between you and your environment only. The experiences you have find truth, because truth is only for you through your experiences. Other people's truths are only for them. When you have an intersubjective truth, yeah, that's cool to go for, but I couldn't disagree more with that on rhetorical grounds especially, but also philosophically. Be in their language, maybe their language is different.